The envelope was heavier than it should be. Isabella's hands trembled as she tore it open in the sterile hospital bathroom, and $50,000 in cash spilled across the sink. The note was brief, written in sharp black ink. "You delivered what I paid for. This is your final payment. Never contact me again." She stared at her reflection, exhausted, still bleeding from the C-section, barely able to stand. In the nursery down the hall, her daughter was sleeping in an isolette. Their daughter. The daughter Dante Moretti had paid her $1 million to carry and deliver. The contract had been clear: conceive his child through IVF, carry to term, hand over the baby, disappear forever. Clinical. Transactional. Simple. But nothing about the last 9 months had been simple. And what she discovered 3 hours ago, what the doctors had whispered in shock, would shatter everything Dante Moretti thought he knew about control. This is a story that will grab you from the first word and won't let go until the very end. If you want to know how this impossible situation unfolded and where it leads, subscribe to the channel and drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. Every view matters. The law office smelled like leather and old money. Isabella Chen sat in a chair that probably cost more than her car, trying not to touch anything. Her nursing scrubs felt offensive in this space of marble and mahogany. "Miss Chen." The lawyer, silver, his nameplate red, slid a thick folder across the desk. "My client's offer is generous beyond measure. $1 million for 9 months of your time." Isabella's throat went dry. $1 million. Her student loans, her mother's medical bills, her brother's tuition, gone. Erased. In exchange for... "Let me be clear about what this entails," Silver continued, his voice clinical. "You would undergo IVF using my client's genetic material and a donated egg from a pre-screened candidate. You would carry the pregnancy to term under the supervision of the finest medical team in the country. Upon delivery, you would relinquish all parental rights and sign a non-disclosure agreement. You would never meet the child. You would never meet my client. You would disappear with your payment and never look back." "Why me?" The question escaped before she could stop it. Silver's expression didn't change. "You have no criminal record. No substance abuse history. Excellent health. No family entanglements that would complicate matters. You're a cardiac ICU nurse, responsible, intelligent, discreet. And..." He paused. "You're desperate enough to say yes." The words hit like a slap, but they weren't wrong. Isabella thought of her mother's latest hospital bill, of her brother giving up his scholarship dreams to work double shifts at a warehouse, of her own checking account with its $247 balance. "Who is he?" she asked. "That's irrelevant. You'll never meet him. What if something goes wrong? What if... Every medical contingency is covered. You'll live in a secure location for the duration of the pregnancy. No expenses, no concerns. Just 9 months, Miss Chen. 9 months, and your life changes forever." Isabella stared at the contract. The number swam before her eyes. $1 million. She picked up the pen. The penthouse apartment had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park. Isabella stood at the glass, one hand on her barely visible bump, watching the city glow beneath a winter sunset. The medical team had confirmed it yesterday. Pregnant, healthy, everything progressing perfectly. She should feel relieved. Grateful. Instead, she felt like a stranger in her own body. The apartment door opened without warning. Isabella spun, her heart hammering. A man stood in the entrance. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a black suit that probably cost more than her entire payment. Dark hair, sharp jaw, eyes like polished obsidian. He was perhaps 35, devastatingly handsome in a way that felt dangerous. "You're not supposed to be here," Isabella said, her voice steadier than she felt. "Neither are you." His voice was low, controlled. An accent, Italian, threaded through the English. This is my property. Understanding crashed over her. You're Dante Moretti. He stepped inside, and two men in dark suits followed, stationing themselves by the door. His gaze swept over her, clinical and assessing, before landing on her stomach. Something flickered in his expression. Too fast to name. The contract explicitly stated we would never meet. The contract said you wouldn't visit your own property? This apartment was designated for your use. I have 12 others. He moved closer, and Isabella fought the urge to step back. I came to retrieve documents from my study. I didn't expect you to be here. Where else would I be? I'm not allowed to leave without supervision. His jaw tightened. That's for your protection. Or your convenience. The words hung between them. His bodyguard shifted, tension crackling through the room, but Dante raised one hand and they froze. You signed the contract willingly, Miss Chen. I needed the money. That's not the same as willing. Something in his expression changed, a crack in the marble facade. He studied her face like he was seeing her for the first time. Actually seeing her, not just the walking incubator he'd paid for. What's your name? He asked quietly. You know my name. It's on the contract. Your first name. She shouldn't answer. Every instinct screamed to maintain distance, maintain the clinical boundaries that made this bearable. But something in his voice, a genuine curiosity, maybe even loneliness, made her speak. Isabella. Isabella. He repeated it like he was tasting the word. Italian. My grandmother. He nodded slowly, then seemed to remember himself. The walls came back up, the cold control sliding back into place. I'll have the documents couriered. You won't see me again. He turned toward the study, but Isabella's voice stopped him. Don't you want to know how the pregnancy is going? Dante froze. His shoulders were rigid beneath the expensive suit. When he spoke, his voice was carefully neutral. The medical team provides daily reports. That's not what I asked. He turned back, and the look in his eyes was raw. Just for a second, just long enough for Isabella to see the human underneath the armor. Want and fear and something close to grief warred in his expression. It's better if we don't do this, he said finally. Do what? Pretend this is anything other than a business arrangement. You're the one who asked my name. His laugh was bitter. A mistake. He disappeared into the study. Isabella stood at the window, one hand still on her stomach, and wondered what kind of man paid a stranger to have his child but couldn't bear to ask if everything was okay. The kind who was desperately, utterly alone, she realized, and terrified of being anything else. Cliffhanger. When Dante emerged 15 minutes later, Isabella was crying. Not dramatically, just silent tears tracking down her cheeks as she stared at the park. He should walk past. Maintain boundaries. Protect them both. Instead, he found himself asking, "What's wrong?" Isabella wiped her face quickly, turning away from him. "Nothing. Hormones. You're a terrible liar." Dante's voice came from directly behind her now, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and understated. "What happened? Why do you care?" The words came out sharper than she intended. "According to you, this is just business." Silence stretched between them. Then, quietly, "Tell me anyway." Isabella closed her eyes. Maybe it was the pregnancy hormones. Maybe it was the isolation of the last 3 months, living in this golden cage with only medical staff and security guards for company. Or maybe it was the unexpected gentleness in his voice, so at odds with everything she knew about Dante Moretti. "My brother called," she said finally. "He got accepted to MIT. Full scholarship. It's everything he's dreamed of since he was 12. That's good news. He's not going. He's staying in San Francisco to take care of our mother. Because I'm not there. Her voice cracked. Because I sold 9 months of my life to a stranger and now my family is. How much does he need? Isabella turned, confused. What? Dante had his phone out. For MIT. Housing, living expenses, whatever the scholarship doesn't cover. How much? I'm not asking you for more money. I'm not offering. I'm paying. His fingers moved across the screen. Your brother's name? Daniel Chen, but... Done. He'll receive notification of an anonymous scholarship within the hour. Full ride, 4 years, stipend included. Dante pocketed his phone, his expression unreadable. Your mother's medical bills. Send me the details. They'll be handled. Isabella stared at him. Why would you do that? Because you're carrying my child and you're crying. He said it like the logic was obvious. That's unacceptable. I'm not crying because I need more money. I'm crying because I miss them. Something shifted in his face, a recognition, maybe. A shared understanding of loneliness. How long have you been alone? Isabella asked softly. That's not. You live in a different penthouse every night. You pay strangers to have your children rather than trust someone enough to build a family. You run an empire, but you're standing in an empty apartment at sunset asking a pregnant woman why she's crying. She stepped closer, watching his jaw tighten. How long, Dante? Long enough to know it's safer. Safer for who? Everyone. The word was final, absolute. But Isabella saw the way his hand had unconsciously moved toward her stomach before he caught himself, the way his eyes lingered on her face like he was memorizing something he knew he shouldn't keep. The baby moved yesterday, she said quietly. First time I felt it. Like butterflies, or, I don't know. Something alive. Something real. Dante's expression shattered. Just for a second, raw longing broke through before he locked it down. You should rest. The medical team says. Screw the medical team. Isabella grabbed his wrist before he could retreat. You created this life. Don't you want to? The apartment lights went out. Emergency lighting flickered on, bathing everything in red. Dante's entire demeanor changed in an instant, the businessman vanishing, replaced by something cold and lethal. Get away from the windows. His voice was absolute command. Now. What's happening? Now. He was already moving, one hand on her arm, pulling her toward the interior hallway. His bodyguards had materialized, weapons drawn, speaking rapidly into earpieces. Sir, we have unauthorized access to the building's electrical grid. Multiple hostiles in the parking garage. They're coming up. Dante's face was stone. How many? 12. Maybe more. Rossetti family colors. Isabella's heart hammered. What does that mean? It means they know you're here. And they know what you mean to me. Dante turned to his head of security. Marco, take her to the... An explosion rocked the building. The floor shuddered, and Isabella stumbled. Dante caught her instantly, one arm around her waist, the other hand cradling her stomach protectively. Change of plans, he said grimly. We're leaving together. Stay close to me. Do exactly as I say. Understand? Isabella nodded, terror stealing her voice. They moved through the apartment like shadows. Dante kept Isabella behind him, his body a shield, his gun, when had he drawn a gun? Sweeping each corner before they advanced. His bodyguards flanked them, military precise. The private elevator was compromised. Dante swore in Italian, fluid and vicious, then changed direction. Service stairs. Go. They burst into the stairwell. Footsteps echoed from below. Heavy boots, multiple people, rising fast. Dante looked up, calculating. 10 floors up. There's a helicopter on the roof. I can't. I'm pregnant. I can't climb. You can. His hand found hers, steady and warm. I won't let anything happen to you. Either of you. The pronoun hit her chest like a physical thing. Either of you. They climbed. Isabella's lungs burned, her legs screaming, but Dante's hand never left hers. Behind them, gunfire erupted, sharp cracks that echoed up the concrete shaft. Marco and the other bodyguards returning fire, buying them time. Keep moving, Dante urged. Don't look back. But Isabella did look back. She saw Marco take a bullet to the shoulder, saw him stagger and keep fighting, saw the blood spreading across his suit. Dante. He knows what he signed up for. Keep climbing. They burst onto the roof. Wind whipped Isabella's hair across her face. A helicopter was already warming up, rotors spinning, lights cutting through the darkness. Dante lifted her, literally lifted her, into the cabin before swinging in beside her. Go, he shouted to the pilot. Now. The helicopter lurched into the sky. Through the windows, Isabella saw figures burst onto the roof, weapons raised, but they were already out of range. The building, the golden cage she'd called home for 3 months, grew smaller beneath them. Dante was on his phone, his voice lethal. Find who gave up the location. I want names. I want families. I want everything. Isabella's hand found her stomach. The baby fluttered, awareness, maybe, or just coincidence. She was shaking uncontrollably now, adrenaline crashing through her system. Dante noticed. He ended the call and turned to her, his face softening in a way she hadn't seen before. You're safe now, he said quietly. Those men, Marco, will be fine. They're professionals. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and brushed her hair back from her face. I'm sorry you had to see that. Is this your life? Every day. Yes. The simple honesty of it was somehow worse than any excuse would have been. Cliffhanger. Where are we going? Isabella asked as the helicopter banked over the dark Atlantic. Dante's answer was quiet. Somewhere they'll never find you. My private island. We'll be alone there. Completely alone. The island appeared as the sun rose, a jewel of white sand and tropical green emerging from blue water. The estate dominated the highest point. Modern architecture of glass and stone, somehow both fortress and paradise. Isabella stepped out of the helicopter onto a private helipad, exhaustion making every movement heavy. She'd been awake for 20 hours. Her whole body ached. And the baby wouldn't stop moving, as if it sensed her anxiety. This way. Dante's hand was on her lower back, guiding her toward the house. His bodyguards had stayed behind in New York, hunting whoever had betrayed the location. Here, there was only a skeleton staff, a cook, a housekeeper, both local and fiercely loyal. The house was stunning. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the ocean. White marble floors reflected the morning light. But Isabella barely noticed. The adrenaline crash was hitting hard, making her sway on her feet. Bedrooms upstairs, Dante said, catching her elbow. You need to rest. I need to understand what just happened. Isabella pulled away from him, trying to steady herself. Who were those people? Why did they want to hurt me? The Rossetti family. Rivals. His voice was flat, matter-of-fact. They found out about the pregnancy. About you. They know the fastest way to destroy me is to take away something He stopped abruptly. Something you what? Something I've invested in. The clinical language was back. But Isabella had seen his face when the bullets started flying, felt how his body had curved around hers, protecting her and the baby with an instinct that had nothing to do with investment portfolios. "That's not what you were going to say." Dante's jaw tightened. "We should discuss security protocols. You'll need to stay on the island until after the delivery. I'll have everything you need brought." "Dante." Isabella stepped closer. "Stop." "Stop what?" "Pretending you don't care." The words hung between them. The morning sun streamed through the windows, painting everything gold. Dante looked at her, really looked, his control cracking at the edges, and Isabella saw the want in his eyes. The loneliness. The fear. "I can't afford to care," he said quietly. "Men in my position don't get that luxury." "Why not?" "Because everything I care about gets used against me. Gets hurt. Gets destroyed." His voice roughened. "My mother. My sister. Everyone I've ever—" He stopped, shaking his head. "This arrangement was supposed to be clean. Clinical. Safe. Safe for who? For you. For the baby." He moved toward the window, putting distance between them. "I wanted a child. An heir. But I didn't want to put a woman I didn't want to risk anyone else getting caught in this life. So I found another way. A contract. A transaction. Something that couldn't be used to hurt me or anyone else." Understanding crashed over Isabella like a wave. "You paid me to have your baby because you thought it would keep me safe. Keep me separate from your world." "Yes. But it didn't work. They found me anyway." "Yes." The word was bitter. Isabella placed her hand on her stomach. The baby moved again, stronger now, a definite kick. Without thinking, she crossed the room and took Dante's hand, placing it where hers had been. He froze. "Isabella." "Feel that?" For a long moment, nothing. Then the baby kicked again, right against Dante's palm. His expression shattered completely. Wonder and grief and love all at once, unguarded and raw. "Dio," he whispered. "That's your daughter." The words were out before Isabella could stop them. The medical team had confirmed it last week, but she'd been instructed not to share any details with Dante. Clinical. Transactional. Separate. But nothing about this was separate anymore. "Daughter," Dante repeated, his voice breaking. His other hand came up, cradling Isabella's face, his thumb brushing her cheekbone. "You're having my daughter." "We're having a daughter," Isabella corrected softly. The distinction made him close his eyes. When he opened them again, they were wet. "I can't do this. I can't let myself." "Too late." Isabella covered his hand with both of hers, keeping it pressed to her stomach. "You already do. I see it every time you look at me. Every time you make sure I'm comfortable or safe or you care. Dante. You're terrified of it, but you do. If I care, I put you in danger. I'm already in danger. They already found me. So what are you protecting by keeping your distance now? The only thing you're doing is making all three of us miserable." "All three," his voice caught. "Isabella, you were never supposed to stay. After the delivery, you were supposed to take your money and—" "Build a life without her?" Isabella felt tears burning. "Walk away from this baby I've carried and felt move and talk to for 9 months? Just forget. That was the contract. Screw the contract." The words came out fierce. "You think I can do that? You think I can push her out into the world and just leave? Never know if she's okay, if she's happy, if she—" Her voice broke. "I thought I could. I thought it was just biology, just cells, but she's real, Dante. She's alive and she's ours and I can't." Dante kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate and claiming and full of 9 months of denied want. His hand tangled in her hair, the other still on her stomach, and Isabella melted into him. She tasted salt, his tears or hers, impossible to tell, and felt his heart hammering against her chest. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against hers. "I can't offer you normal," he whispered. "I can't offer you safe. This life, my life, it's dark and dangerous and—" "I don't care. You should." "I don't." Isabella's hands fisted in his shirt. "I'm already in it, Dante. We both are. So stop pushing me away and let me in. All the way in." He kissed her again, softer this time. Reverent. Like she was something precious he'd convinced himself he couldn't have. His hand moved over her stomach, tracing the curve of their daughter. "Mia famiglia," he murmured against her lips. "My family." Cliffhanger. The housekeeper's scream shattered the moment. They both spun toward the sound, and Dante's face went white. In the doorway stood a woman Isabella had never seen, elegant, cold, with Dante's same dark eyes. "Hello, little brother," she said. "Didn't think I'd find out about your little secret? How stupid do you think I am?" "Lucia." Dante's voice was flat, controlled, but Isabella felt him shift, putting himself between her and the woman. "How did you find this place?" "Please. I've known about the island for years. You think you're the only Moretti with resources." Lucia stepped inside, her heels clicking on marble. 3 men in suits followed her. "The question is why you felt the need to hide her here. Your surrogate, I presume." The word hit Isabella like a slap. That's all she was to the outside world, a walking incubator. Clinical. Transactional. "This doesn't concern you," Dante said coldly. "Doesn't concern me?" Lucia laughed, brittle and sharp. "You're bringing a bastard into this family, Dante. An heir with no mother, no legitimacy, born from some paid transaction? That concerns all of us. That concerns the family. Watch your mouth. Or what? You'll cut me out like you cut out everyone else." Lucia's eyes were hard. "You've been playing king for 10 years, little brother. Making decisions alone, trusting no one, building walls so high you've forgotten what family actually means." "Family." Dante's voice was lethal. "You want to talk about family? Where were you when our mother was dying? When the Rossettis burned our father's business to the ground? When I was 17 and holding this family together with blood and bullets? Exactly where you told me to be. Safe. Separate. You built those walls yourself, Dante. Don't pretend you didn't." The tension between them was a living thing. Isabella watched, her hand unconsciously protecting her stomach, as years of fractures revealed themselves. "Why are you here, Lucia?" Dante asked finally. "Because the Rossettis know about her. About the baby. And they're not going to stop." Lucia pulled out her phone, showing footage of the New York attack. This was a warning. Next time, they won't miss. They'll take her, take the child, and use them to destroy you. Unless. Unless what? Unless you make her legitimate. Marry her. Make the child a true heir, not some contract baby they can claim has no real protection. Lucia looked at Isabella directly for the first time. "What's your name?" "Isabella Chen." "Chen. Not Italian, then. That's going to be a problem." "The only problem," Dante said coldly, "is you coming to my island uninvited and threatening." "I'm not threatening. I'm offering a solution." Lucia moved closer. "Marry her. Publicly. Make a statement that she's under family protection. The Rossettis won't touch her then. It would violate every code, start a war they can't win. Marriage won't stop them if they want her dead badly enough." "No, but it raises the stakes. Right now, she's a surrogate. A transaction. Nobody. But if she's your wife?" The mother of a legitimate Moretti heir? That's different. That's untouchable. Isabella's head was spinning. I'm standing right here. Maybe someone should ask what I think about being used as a chess piece in your family politics. Both Morettis turned to look at her. Lucia's eyebrows rose. She has a spine. Good. You'll need it. Isabella, Dante started. No. Isabella stepped forward, anger burning through fear. I'm so tired of everyone talking around me like I'm not a person. I'm not a transaction. I'm not a chess piece. I'm a woman who's carrying a child and trying to understand how my life turned into a Mafia movie in the last 24 hours. Silence. Then Lucia smiled, genuine for the first time. I like her. Of course you do, Dante muttered. You both have the same kamikaze approach to self-preservation. What's your real concern? Isabella asked Lucia directly. It's not just about family legitimacy. What do you actually want? Lucia studied her with new interest. Smart and spine. Dante, you chose better than you knew. She crossed to the window, looking out at the ocean. I want my brother to stop being alone. I want him to trust someone, anyone, enough to let them in. I want him to have what our parents had before they were killed. A real family. Love. Something worth protecting that isn't just power and money. Lucia, Dante's voice was rough. I'm serious. She turned back. I've watched you build an empire, Dante. But empires are cold. They don't keep you warm at night. They don't love you back. Her gaze shifted to Isabella. But maybe she could. If you let her. Isabella felt Dante's eyes on her. The weight of the question he wasn't asking. The contract between them was clear. She'd deliver the baby, take the money, disappear. Clean. Clinical. Safe. But nothing about this felt safe anymore. Nothing felt clean. The baby kicked, hard enough to make Isabella gasp. Both Dante and Lucia moved instinctively toward her. I'm fine, Isabella said quickly. She's just very active today. She? Lucia's face lit up. It's a girl. Isabella nodded and watched Dante's sister, this cold, dangerous woman, absolutely melt. A girl, Lucia whispered. Una bambina. Oh, Dante. She pressed her hands to her mouth, tears shining. A daughter. Mama would have. Her voice broke. Dante moved to her, pulling her into his arms, and they stood there. Two siblings who'd lost everything and built walls to survive, finally letting those walls crack. Isabella watched them and saw the truth. Dante wasn't just protecting her from his world. He was protecting himself from the possibility of loss, of love, of having something he couldn't control. I'll do it, Isabella heard herself say. Both Morettis looked at her. The marriage. I'll do it. She moved her hand over her stomach. Not because of politics or protection or any of that, but because, she looked at Dante, because I don't want to walk away either. I thought I could, but I can't. I won't. Dante crossed to her in 3 strides. His hands cupped her face, his eyes searching hers. You understand what you're agreeing to? This life doesn't get easier. It gets harder. More dangerous. More. I know. Isabella covered his hands with hers. I'm choosing it anyway. I'm choosing you. Both of you. He kissed her like she was oxygen, like she was salvation. When he pulled back, his voice was rough. I love you. Ti amo. I think I have since you asked my name that first night. I know, Isabella whispered. I love you too. Cliffhanger. The moment shattered. Gunfire erupted outside. Automatic weapons, close and getting closer. Lucia went pale. That's not possible. They can't have found us this fast. An explosion rocked the house. Dante grabbed Isabella, shielding her body with his. Through the smoke and chaos, a voice called out in Italian, "Give us the woman, Moretti, and we'll let you live." Dante's response was immediate. "Lucia, get Isabella to the safe room. Now." "I'm not leaving you," Isabella started. "You're carrying my daughter. You don't have a choice." His voice was absolute command, but his hand was gentle as he pushed her toward Lucia. "Go. I'll come for you." Lucia grabbed Isabella's arm, pulling her toward a hidden panel in the wall. Behind them, more gunfire. Dante had already disappeared, moving toward the threat with lethal purpose. The safe room was exactly that. Reinforced steel, surveillance monitors, enough supplies for a week. Lucia sealed the door behind them, her fingers flying over a control panel. The monitors showed the estate from a dozen angles. On screen, Isabella watched Dante move through his own house like a ghost. He'd shed the expensive suit jacket, rolled up his sleeves, and somehow produced enough weapons to supply a small army. His remaining security team, 6 men who'd been stationed around the perimeter, moved in perfect coordination with him. But there were at least 20 attackers. Maybe more. "How many men does he have?" Isabella asked, her heart in her throat. "Not enough." Lucia was on her phone, speaking rapid Italian. "I'm calling in reinforcements, but they're 30 minutes out. We need to." On the monitor, Dante took down 3 men in quick succession. Efficient. Brutal. Terrifyingly competent. Isabella's hands covered her stomach protectively, but she couldn't look away. "He's good at this," she whispered. "He's the best." Lucia's voice was grim. "But even the best can be overwhelmed. There are too many of them." Another explosion, this one inside the house. The monitors flickered. When they came back, smoke filled half the screens. "Dante!" Isabella pressed close to the monitor, searching for him. "Where is he?" "There." Lucia pointed. Dante was pinned down behind a marble column, blood streaming from a cut above his eye. 2 of his men were down. The attackers were advancing. Isabella made a decision. She moved toward the safe room door. "What are you doing?" Lucia blocked her path. "I can't just hide in here while he dies protecting me. He'll kill us both if I let you out there. Then he'll have to survive to do it." Isabella met Lucia's eyes. "That's your brother. The father of my child. And I won't let him die alone while I cower in a steel box." Something in Lucia's expression shifted. Respect, maybe. Or recognition of the same stubbornness that ran through the Moretti bloodline. "You have no training. No weapons. No. I'm an ICU nurse. I've kept people alive through worse." Isabella gestured at the medical supplies lining one wall. "Let me out, or I'll find another way." Lucia stared at her for a long moment. Then she smiled, fierce and approving. "Mama would have liked you." She pulled a gun from an ankle holster, checked the clip, and handed it to Isabella. "Safety's here. Point and squeeze. Don't overthink it." The safe room opened. Smoke immediately filled Isabella's lungs. Lucia moved ahead, her own weapon drawn, clearing corners with professional precision. They moved through the destroyed house toward the sound of gunfire. Dante was exactly where the monitors had shown him, bleeding, surrounded, fighting with everything he had. When he saw Isabella, his face went white. "No!" he roared. "Get back!" Isabella ignored him. She dropped behind the column beside him, her hands already assessing his wounds. "Where are you hit?" "Isabella, you need to answer the question." His jaw clenched. "Shoulder. Through and through." "I'm fine." He wasn't fine. He was bleeding heavily, his movements slower than they should be. Isabella stripped off her cardigan, wadding it against the wound. "Hold this. Press hard. You shouldn't be here. Too late." She looked up at him, and despite everything, the smoke, the bullets, the chaos, she smiled. "We're a family now, remember? We don't abandon each other." Something in his expression broke. "If anything happens to you, then you better make sure nothing does." Isabella pressed his hand harder against the wound. "Now tell me what you need." For the first time in his adult life, Dante Moretti accepted help. "Lucia, East Corridor." "Isabella, stay down. When I say move, we're going for the—" The gunfire stopped. Sudden. Complete. Eerie silence filled the smoke-choked house. Then a voice called out in Italian. Dante's whole body went rigid. "What did he say?" Isabella whispered. "He said they surrender." Dante rose slowly, weapon still raised, searching the smoke. "It's a trap. It has to be." "It's not." Lucia lowered her gun, her phone to her ear. Reinforcements arrived. Early. A smile curved her lips. And they brought friends. Seems the Rossetti family just learned what happens when you attack a Moretti wife on Moretti land. Isabella absorbed the word. Wife. She wasn't, not yet, but apparently the declaration alone had been enough to mobilize an army tenter novamente v continuer chapter 5, continued, completing the 1,000 words. Through the smoke, figures emerged. Not attackers, these wore different colors, moved with different purpose. At their head was an older man, silver-haired, carrying himself with absolute authority. "Uncle Salvatore," Dante breathed. The older man surveyed the carnage with grim satisfaction. "You should have called me the moment they found the girl, Nipote. Family protects family." His gaze found Isabella, assessed her with sharp intelligence. "This is her." "Isabella Chen," Dante said, his hand finding hers. "The mother of my daughter." "My fidanzata," Salvatore interrupted. "I heard." Word travels fast. The Rossettis made their move based on incomplete information. They thought she was just a surrogate, a transaction they could disrupt. His smile was cold. They miscalculated badly. Outside, Isabella could hear vehicles, shouted orders, the sounds of the attacking force being rounded up. Salvatore had brought what looked like a small army. "The Rossettis violated the accords," Salvatore continued. "Attacking a pregnant woman, a declared family member, on private territory. The council has already voted. Their organization will be dissolved. Their territories redistributed. They cease to exist as of tonight." The casual way he pronounced the death sentence of an entire crime family made Isabella's blood run cold. This was Dante's world. This was what she'd chosen. Dante's hand tightened on hers. "I need to get Isabella to a hospital." The stress, the smoke. Already arranged. Helicopters waiting. Salvatore gestured, and 2 men appeared with a stretcher. "But first—" He stepped closer, his weathered hand reaching out to touch Isabella's stomach gently. "A daughter. The first Moretti girl in 3 generations." His eyes went wet. "Your grandmother would have wept with joy." "Uncle," Dante's voice was rough. "You've been alone too long, Nipote. Building walls, trusting no one, carrying everything yourself." Salvatore gripped his shoulder. "Let us help. Let us be family again. For her. For the bambina. For all of us." Dante's control finally shattered. He pulled his uncle into a fierce embrace, and Isabella saw the weight of years, of isolation, of fear, of loneliness, finally break. Lucia joined them, then others, until the Moretti family was whole again in the ruins of the house. Isabella's hand went to her stomach. The baby had gone still, Exhausted, maybe, or just resting. But alive. Safe. Tesoro. Dante was beside her instantly, his doctor's training kicking in. The baby. She's okay. Just tired. Isabella managed a smile. Like her mother. He lifted her into his arms despite his own injuries. Let's get you both somewhere safe. Somewhere I can take care of you properly. The island will be rebuilt. But we're not staying here. He carried her toward the helicopter, Lucia and Salvatore flanking them. I have a villa in Tuscany. Vineyard, olive groves, mountains. Safe. Beautiful. Big enough for a family. A family, Isabella repeated softly. See, you, me, our daughter. And whoever else we decide to add. His eyes met hers. If you'll have me. All of me. This world, this life, everything that comes with it. Isabella touched his face, careful of his injuries. I already said yes. Say it again. Yes. Always yes. He kissed her there, in the chaos, surrounded by blood and smoke and the wreckage of his house. And somehow it felt like a beginning instead of an ending. The delivery room in the private Swiss hospital was state-of-the-art, staffed by the best medical team money could buy. Isabella had been in labor for 14 hours. Dante hadn't left her side for any of it, despite the doctor's suggestions that he take breaks. One more push, the doctor encouraged. I can see her head. Isabella bore down with everything she had, Dante's hand crushing in hers. The pain was transcendent, impossible, and then a cry. Sharp and indignant and absolutely perfect. She's here, the doctor announced, and suddenly there was a baby. Tiny, red, squalling, being placed on Isabella's chest. Congratulations. She's beautiful. But Isabella couldn't respond. She was staring at their daughter in absolute shock. Dante was frozen beside her, his face white. What? He started, his voice breaking. How is this? The baby opened her eyes. One was dark brown, deep and warm like Isabella's. The other was gray-green, exactly like Dante's. Heterochromia. Two different colored eyes. But that wasn't what had stolen both their voices. The baby had a distinctive birthmark on her left shoulder. Port wine stain, the medical term. Shaped like a crescent moon. Exactly like the birthmark on Dante's left shoulder. The one he'd inherited from his mother. The one that appeared in every Moretti for 6 generations. The genetic testing, Isabella whispered. They said they used a donor egg. That none of my DNA. They lied. Dante's hands were shaking as he touched his daughter's face. Or switched the samples. Or, he looked at Isabella, his eyes blazing. She's yours. Not just carried by you, she's from you. Your DNA, your genes, your... Understanding crashed over them both. Someone had switched the samples. Instead of using a donor egg and Dante's sperm, they'd used Isabella's egg. This baby wasn't just genetically Dante's daughter. She was genetically both of theirs. Who? Isabella demanded, her mind racing. Who would? Does it matter? Dante's voice was thick with emotion. He was crying openly now, staring at their daughter like she was a miracle. She's ours. Really, truly ours. I paid you to carry my child, and somehow we ended up with this. With her. With everything I never knew I wanted. Isabella touched her daughter's tiny hand, watched those mismatched eyes blink up at her. We should be furious. Someone violated our consent, switched the samples. We should, Dante agreed. And later, I'll find out who and probably thank them. He leaned down, pressing his forehead to hers. Because I never would have asked for this. Never would have let myself want it. But it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. The baby wrapped her tiny fingers around Isabella's thumb. That simple gesture, instinctive, biological, perfect, made everything real. "Sophia," Isabella whispered. "Her name is Sophia. Wisdom. Because she's already smarter than both of us combined." Dante laughed through his tears. "Sophia Moretti. Perfect." He kissed Isabella softly. "Thank you. For her. For choosing us. For being stubborn enough to fall in love with you despite your best efforts to keep me at arm's length?" "Exactly that." His smile was radiant. "I love you. Both of you. Mia famiglia. My family." Isabella pulled him closer, their daughter cradled between them. Outside the hospital room, Lucia was waiting with Salvatore and what looked like half the Moretti extended family. The world was complicated and dangerous and imperfect. But here, in this moment, they had everything that mattered. The Tuscan villa glowed in the sunset, golden light spilling across terraced vineyards. Isabella stood on the terrace, watching Sophia run through the olive grove, dark curls flying, those distinctive mismatched eyes bright with laughter. Dante chased her, his expensive suit jacket long discarded, his tie hanging loose. So much had changed. The Moretti empire had evolved, legitimized, still powerful but no longer soaked in quite so much blood. Dante had stepped back from the darkest parts of the business, letting Lucia and Salvatore handle what he no longer wanted touching his family. Isabella had gone back to nursing part-time, teaching at a medical school in Florence. She'd never touched the $1 million. It sat in a trust fund for Sophia, along with the revelation they'd eventually discovered. It had been Lucia who'd switched the genetic samples. Lucia who'd decided her brother deserved a real family, even if she had to manipulate him into it. They'd forgiven her. Eventually. "Mama!" Sophia shrieked, running toward her. "Papa says I can have a fratellino." Isabella touched her stomach, where a 14-week pregnancy was just starting to show. Dante appeared behind Sophia, his eyes soft as they met Isabella's. "Or a sister," he corrected gently. "But yes, a sibling." Sophia launched herself into Isabella's arms. "I want twins. Can you make twins?" Dante laughed, pulling them both close. "Let's start with one and see how it goes." Isabella leaned into him, breathing in the scent of olive trees and wild rosemary. She thought of that bathroom in the hospital, the envelope of cash, the moment she'd thought her life was ending. She'd been wrong. It had been beginning. And that's where we leave them, a family forged from a transaction, tempered by danger and ultimately bound by love. If this story touched your heart, leave a like and share it with someone who loves intense, emotional journeys. We'll see you in the next one.